Hello everyone, welcome back to an early-ish rendition of the RedSeaPodcast and a very chaotic one, to be honest, because by as the description said, for those of you that checked it out already, of course you can't talk about Olympiacos this week without first mentioning Keenan Evans. What's there to say about this man and his non-luck? Because that luck is non-existent after a point. I think that even for those of us that couldn't make it to the stadium, just that feeling of absolute despair hit like a truck, hit like a goddamn truck. And even the deadly silence at the stadium just showing off the faces of the players. And first of all, it's just unbelievable for not even Keenan Evans, the athlete, but Keenan Evans, the person, right? In just under 3 years, this man has climbed Mount Everest, fallen back down, climbed it again, fallen back down, climbed it again, only to fall back down. And honestly, even the mental strength that it takes to actually go on and apologies for the dog, by the way. I can't do much. Only the mental strength it takes to actually go on and start rehabilitation all over again. Only to start a journey that you've started twice before, not knowing if you'd even be the same. And solely the fact that it's not even that his leg is ripped to shreds, to keep it plain, right? Because a second Achilles is detrimental, even if it's not on the same leg. Both Achilles just torn to pieces. It does stuff to the body that goes without saying. But even the fact that in his mind he knows that he fought, he came back, he started performing, fell again, fought, came back, got the contract with us, suffered a minor injury that kept him out for a few weeks. But given the days he was out for, the hundreds and hundreds of days he was out for, comes back to the league, gets MVP, arguably, of that performance, putting up incredible numbers for such a full and lengthy return, comes back in. I wish I could play the clip, but comes back in to the Euroleague to applause like arguably no one has ever heard before on their Euroleague debut for Olympiacos, only to 2 minutes after, tear your Achilles again. It's heartbreaking. We read, and I wouldn't really be surprised if it's true, that he didn't want to get diagnosed, that he didn't want to hear the results. The no way that left his lips the moment that they were Pap and I'm pretty sure it was an assistant or the physician helping him to the back. The no way that left his lips alone showed enough. And whatever we do this season has to be for him. And I was sitting and thinking about it because, of course, it affected him and the team more than anyone, but I don't think any of us have even stood to overcome the shock of what we saw. And I was thinking about it, and this is one of the many shoutouts I'll give to the boys over at Thrylos 7. And I was thinking about like, what situation, how can you even compare this to something? And it's an analogy I saw. For those of you that do follow me on the socials, I reposted it on Twitter and I did put it up on a story on Insta. And it's an analogy I saw saying that imagine missing Christmas for 2 years, then thinking that you'll get to celebrate, and last minute it just gets ripped away from you again. It's the best analogy to give to a kid, but it's an analogy that shows the absolute unfair side and honestly and plainly brutal side of the situation. The team will, of course, see out Keenan's contract that runs until next summer. I don't know if there will be a renewal. It's a mixed bag. Some fans agree, some fans disagree. I am in the middle, but of course the right thing to do is see out the man's contract, and as we will. And we can only pray that he will actually go on and play for us in the Euroleague and actually get a proper run next year, even though, again, the mountain he has to climb seems inhumane. But if anyone can do it, it's a man that's done it twice before. Because he hasn't just done it once, he's done it twice. We now have to wait and see, but I think the main message to keep from all of this is that this season and the successes it brings will be for Keenan. Now, as much as you can't really talk about this game, because the moment the Evans injury happened, there's everything. The atmosphere, which was honestly maybe even building up to be the best atmosphere we've seen all year at Chef, died rightfully. The players' mentality just dropped rightfully. And it was just a weird atmosphere the entirety of the game. And it's insane for the reason that, yes, it actually was one of our best performances. And that needs to be fully credited to the players and Bartzokas for having the fortitude, the peace of mind to actually push on after something like that and demolish Zalgiris, because we demolished Zalgiris. There's no other way to put it. And as Zalgiris, that's been incredible this season. And let's not, just because they went 0 out of 2 this week, that doesn't change that they are and will probably continue to be amazing and a driving force of the league itself this season. And people showed up and showed off with a 95-78 win with Tyler dropping 30. Tyler Dorsey dropped 30. In 27 minutes, he dropped 30 with 61% accuracy, adding 2 rebounds to that. And again, performances like this can't physically be overlooked, especially from Tyler, from Nico Milutinov, two people who are having an incredible season, despite, I mean, I don't think, and I've thankfully not seen anyone blame Milutinov for last night, because come on. But again, it's hard to celebrate performances like this when what happened happened, but we have to at least drop some spotlight on them because they deserve credit, especially with the pressure of an added injury like that on your back to go on and perform and win the game, in the sense that we did win the game. And same goes for Nico Milutinov as well, who dropped 16, 8, and 4, along with a steal in 20 minutes, and honestly showed why, again, everyone is allowed a poor night. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But Nico Milutinov, for me, still is the most dominant pick right now in the league, and that won't change unless miracles happen for other players. Excuse my chaotic here. But yeah, that won't change unless utter miracles happen for other players. Another person that did show up as needed, honestly, is Thomas Walkup, who dropped 9, 2, and 4 with some very important points being put up. Sasha dropped 14, 8, and 2 and we'll get to Vezenkov in a bit. Honestly, we'll get to Vezenkov in a bit. But Sasha has been a weird case, and Sasha has drawn a lot of complaints. Sasha has drawn a lot of questions this season from me as well. I would lie to you if I said that I didn't go on to have a couple of questions from Sasha. Not necessarily for his performance, if that makes sense, but for his attitude on the pitch, and for not the way he has been more passive than needed. I don't know if that's the term that we can actually go on and use, because you can't call an average of, I think it's 14, 7, and 1 passive performances. But he's not been the Sasha that has earned the contract that he has. He's not been the Sasha that has showed up many a times to save Olympiacos in the past. And he's not been the Sasha that's been a leader to this team. Let's not lie to ourselves. Sasha has led this team more than once in the past. And of course, we can't forget what Vezenkov has done for this team. But I'm sure he's asking questions from himself as well. Of course, the mixed performance of Tonda Hall deserves a shout out as well, putting up 8, 9, and 2 blocks in a solid 17 minutes. And then it was a bit of chaos in general, but a win's a win. After all, a win that was needed, a win that was deserved, And sadly, a win that wasn't followed, which again, on one hand, it makes sense. On the other, I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about last night. I don't know how to actually process, if that makes sense, the loss that happened last night, because in a night where we should be celebrating certain someone's performance, we question a lot of stuff. And we question stuff that we have questioned in the past, and stuff that shouldn't be questioned anymore. Stuff that, while it's still early in the season, we can't keep going like this. A team like the team that showed up last night for 3 of the 4 quarters, if this becomes a habit, of course a bad night is excused, right? Of course a bad night is excused. But if this goes on to become a habit, a team performing like this cannot go and achieve the main goal of every team in this competition, and that's winning it, right? Because even if offensively, mostly, we were competent, we've said it many a time in the past that this team is defense first. When Olympiacos works well and as intended defensively, then that translates immediately up front, and offensively wise, you actually go on and get the needed, wanted, and necessary results, like we saw glimpses of in last night's game. But sadly, defense, as much as it can win games for this team, it can go on and lose them as well. With the insane percentages allowed from Armani, a rebound battle ultimately lost, and despite ball transition up front again being competent, we never really took advantage of the stuff that we could take advantage of. And except from the final quarter, where we did show up, but sadly was way too late, we weren't up to standard. That's honestly the least that can be said. We just weren't up to standard. Being sadly nowhere in the first, showing an image of a team that's afraid to stand up to another team that's wounded, because Armani was wounded. Like, even the coach alone not being there is a massive stab in a team. And then we go on, and then the first quarter, 27-21, we end the half more even, and even trying to steer momentum to our side. And then we go on the third quarter and just score 13 points, getting up 20. Instead of being a consistent force of strong defense and effective offense, we were a consistent force of chasing the entirety of the game. And very sadly, waking up very late. And waking up is even too kind in regards to some, but I will start with the positives. And the main driving positive of last night is the reminder to many that Alec Peters is here, and Alec Peters is irreplaceable. And no one in this team can do what Alec does. No one in this team can step up like Alec can, purely dead-eye-wise. Like grabbing the ball and pulling up. Only Sasha comes close, but Sasha, when he's not on his day, doesn't even touch Alec's ability. That's why those two both complement and contradict each other so much, which is another whole different conversation. But Alec last night, in just 21 minutes, put up 27 with 85% accuracy, almost putting up a perfect game of almost 30 points. Adding to that, 5 rebounds and a PIR of 27, equal to his goddamn points. And before I go on to the general effect that Alec had and why he should have played more, the other driving force of yesterday was the main driving force of the team up to now, and that's of course Tyler Dorsey, who played 34, scored 25, put up 4 rebounds and 3 assists, with a rating of 28. We saw 2 players, one starting, one coming off the bench, that knew what they had to do for the team to keep that winning streak up, that winning streak that just became dust like this, the winning streak that got Thanos snapped, I guess. And aside from those two, like, even if you look at the box score of the game, it's Alec, Styler, and then it's Armani. Evan put up a solid performance as he's trying to find his footing again, but sadly, up to his standards as well, 10-1 isn't enough from Evan Fournier, but I'm sure that Evan will keep working his ass off to actually come back and grab that necessary form and that necessary confidence to step up for this team when we need a player like Evan Fournier to step up for this team. Nico Milutinov didn't have a bad night, but he had more of a quiet night with 9, 5, and 2. Adding to that, a steal and 2 blocks, a more well-rounded night for Nico Milutinov. And we can't, as I said, it's what I said before I started talking about the Armani game. Players are owed a bad night, and even on his bad night, quote unquote, Nico didn't really have a bad night because he was still controlling the paint. He just wasn't the driving force today because whether we like it or not, we can't play paint-focused basketball against a team like Armani. We needed to be better on the perimeter, which we weren't. And then it's not just that we weren't better on the perimeter, we let them just pop off for no reason in the perimeter. Like, for example, Queen Ellis, like, come on, 16-25 for the kid. Like, nothing but respect for players like that. But come on. Armani Brooks putting up 15, Devin Booker putting up 13, Brian Dunston of all people putting up 10, 3, and 1. Like, we were consistently lackluster for 30 minutes, which not only let Armani play the basketball that they wanted, but let Armani create way more threats than they should have had the ability to go on and do so, right? Even Tyson, who had more of a quiet night, again, at least put up an effort defensively. It's a lot because you have to think about the mentality of these players coming back from what I was saying against Algeria is that they did see a main part of the team suffer brutally again. And I do believe that all of them will bounce back, but it's not a bad loss because Armani away again, for some reason Armani away is always a horrible game to go on and play. And we're still 7-4, right? Let's not just completely destroy everything, but it's a loss that showed a lot of problems that, in my opinion, at least to a majority, should have already been solved. For example, the defensive issue. We can't go on like that. Because if Armani didn't have the absences that it did, we probably would have lost more comfortably, even with the way we showed up to actually go on and end the game. And again, we're standing 7-4. We're fourth. We're tied up with Algeria. The only teams that are above us are Hapoel and Zvezda, who we play. We play Zvezda. And if we play defensively like that against Zvezda, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. We don't need everyone to be consistently at their 1,000%. Right? Again, players are out but night. But you can't not give your all game in and game out. Even if stuff happens. Like that's basketball after a point. Losses are excusable, mistakes like that aren't. And in an addition of defensive and coaching mistakes, the mentality issue doesn't help, I am aware. But two people can't win you a game, especially defensively. We need to work on those. We need to bounce back. We need to take better decisions, both coaching and player-wise, and actually go out and chase what this team deserves to chase. Because it shouldn't be like that. It honestly shouldn't be like that. And something that's been talked about a lot in regards to yesterday, it's the decision to give Sasha the final game. Also, excuse my confusion. We don't play Zvezda next. We play, of course, Paris at home, and then it's Zvezda and Fener on another double week. So we'll talk about those games in a second. The decision to give a lackluster, not lackluster, to give an underwhelming Sasha Vezenkov. The final shot is poor, okay? And that's nothing against Sasha. I get the thinking of, yeah, Sasha can take 9 out of 10 of the clutch shots needed to win games or to tie up games. But on the nights, that 1 out of 10, on the nights where Sasha isn't on his day, especially when he's had a streak of mediocre matches with last night being his worst yet, you have two perfect choices. and saying that Alec couldn't take that shot when not only he's been deemed, but he's proved to be one of, if not the best shooter in the league, out and out, is first of all ridiculous. And even then, there's Tyler Dorsey in the game, who's having his best season yet. Choices need to be taken more carefully. And in general, one of the main problems, even not defensively, even not concentration-wise, it was the rash decisions, which led to turnover after turnover after turnover after turnover, with a team with insane quality. And on our day, we're a team with insane chemistry. And we need to take advantage of that and not just rush attacks. Playing from the back will spill forward to an attack that can kill teams. Just need to go on and keep doing that. We're back home next week. After we play Prometheus away in the league, we're back home against Paris. And Paris is a team that if everyone plays like they should, Paris is a team that we can destroy. But if the trend keeps up that when teams aren't really threats, we don't show up, that for me, that will be the first loss at home that will be inexcusable. We need to beat Paris and people need to find their form. Because going on playing PAOK away at Thessaloniki, which will of course not be an issue, going on to play Zvezda away and Fener at home, two of perhaps not the hardest but the trickiest games of the season, you need to be at your best. And it's not going to be early season or for much longer. We need to find our footing. We need to bring in the necessary players. And the only rumor that I think is worth talking about for now, because we all saw the guard report that came out earlier today by Armani, but we all know this much credibility as well. Even though, again, I've said it before, I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again, Flynn is a dream target. If there is even a slight possibility to bring him in, we better do our role to bring him in. But the main person that's been talked about, realistically, is Nando De Colo. And making my opinion as clear as possible for Nando, because we've had a discussion with some of you earlier on in the season and even in the summer. For me, Nando was always a clear no. Not because of quality, but because I didn't think that he could fit with the team. And again, if Flynn, for example, is available, of course you go for Flynn first. But Nando right now is not only one of the most certain options that you can get, but perhaps is what you need. It's a player that can come in 10-15 minutes, can drive the game, can pull up when needed, and can bring some calm of mind, some peace to the game and to the run of the game. Perhaps you need that a lot right now. That's why if he's deemed fit most of all, because again, it's not the quality right now that bothers me, because I don't think that you can realistically find much better. It's the fitness that's an issue in my books. But if you can bring in a player that can give you 10-15 minutes of absolute consistency every game, you bring him in, no seconds. But you need to bring in a player right now. You can't wait for anything anymore. And if that drives a combination of them leaving And perhaps the accusation, it is accusation, right? Perhaps bringing in 2 players, that's the ideal scenario. But you need to not make do with what you have. You need to strengthen the team. I trust Angelopoulos, I trust Bartzokas more than anything. And I'm with both of them in the team until the end. We are where we are. These are the circumstances we're facing, and we need to move forward with them. But we need to improve. This team is very close to doing something great this season, something unimaginably great. And we need to go on and make sure that we do it. For now, that's it. I just want to update you all on something. First of all, if you like what you see on the show and you're new, go check out everything in the description along with liking and subscribing. But I wanted to update you all on a certain health issue. December 11th, I got help, right? I'll go and have an eye surgery to get rid of this, which is, again, something I'm anticipating. But I know I'll keep you all updated as time goes on. But if all goes well, I will more than likely, that's not a certainty yet, that I will know just a few days before, I will more than likely need to be off for a few days as I recover. It shouldn't be more than like 3 days. But for those days, I'll keep you all updated. And as has happened, not this summer, the last one, where I had to go in for a proper surgery, the show will be in safe hands with God. And I know that you all will be right here. That was the general update. That was the chaos talk for Olympiacos. I will more than likely see you all within the week to talk about the Ethniki. Whatever there is to talk about the Ethniki. Shout out to our under 21s for a wonderful victory against Georgia and a wonderful campaign in general. And I will probably have an update show as well for the RedSeaPodcast, even though the coverage keeps going on as I want it to be, apart from exception, which happened. So I hope you are all loving the general coverage as well. And whatever else comes up, aside the very important announcements that if all goes well, I will have ready within this week, I'll drop anything else on socials, as always. Check out everything down below. Today was a bit more unplanned and chaotic, but I still hope you all enjoyed. And as always, thank you. See you in the next one.